Welcome students, guests, and anyone who's interested in HTML, CSS web building. I'm going to go over some concepts from chapter 1 of our book, HTML, CSS. Next slide. Okay. So I love analogies, and the book starts off with a really good analogy of what is HTML, and it likens HTML to sticky notes. And it says, imagine you're in your kitchen and you label everything. You label the cereal, the plate, the sauce, the cups, the bowl. You put a label in everything, or in other words, the label is the same thing as a tag. You tag everything, okay, with its proper name. And that's exactly what HTML is. HTML is just a series of predefined tags that let the interpreter, because we're web browsers are interpreters, it interprets your web page. Okay, so that's a really good analogy to help you understand what you're building when you build the HTML page. Okay, moving on. Doc type. Okay. So talked a bit about that in a previous video, but we'll talk about it some more here. So doc type HTML, like the one up here at the top, this is the standard HTML5 doc type, and I said their previous ones were more complex, and you see one right here, like right here. This is the HTML4. It's taking up 3 dots here, or 2 dots actually. But this is HTML4. You see how it's a little bit longer, more extended, got some more information. HTML5, like I said, they cleaned it up and they made it real simple for you. That's all you have to do. Pound sign, or excuse me, not pound sign, exclamation point, doc type, HTML. And over here, you see in this table, it'll show you what features are supported by the HTML5 and HTML4. So there's still HTML4 pages out there. Some of them are probably running things like the applet, which isn't supported by HTML5 or the acronym. And so conversion is hard. I've worked at companies that would pay Microsoft actually to continue to support older versions of OSs. So people do hang on to previous stuff. Why? Because they put so much time and effort into building the HTML4 page. Bam, out comes HTML5. So some people, adjust easily. Some people do not like to adjust. So these are still supported, but somewhere along the line, and you got to know the difference between supported and deprecated. So deprecated means it's still supported, but a previous version will be unsupported. And then when something's not supported, means, okay, we're no longer using. You have this all the time. You go to your favorite, you got a favorite item, shoe, clothing, whatever, hardware tool, and then all of a sudden they're not made anymore. So when things get unsupported, then you can't use it anymore because it's no longer being manufactured or being supported by the web browsers. So, and support is really based upon a web browser, because what can happen is HTML5 may not support something, but your web browser still supports it. Okay, so there is sometimes differences between, like I said, what is supported by the standard and then what your actual browser will allow. Okay, and you'll see that as you start to build web pages. Okay, head. So head, it's always at the top, okay, of your web page. And some things that go into head are like the title, and we talked about that in previous videos. So what happens in the title is that's what shows up on the tab of your web page. Style, that's where your CSS goes. Base this defines a, like it says, defines a base target or a base link for all your links. So, for example, if every single one of your links is coming from, your web page slash photos slash, and then it's coming from this photo, then you can put that in the base, and then you just have to finish it off in other links. So it's a nice real way of not having to redundantly specify the full length of a reference. So that's what that base does. Okay, link. Link is most likely used to talk about external CSS sheets. So you can have internal CSS or external CSS. If you have external CSS, then you use this link tag. And it does other things well, and you can look that up. Meta. Meta is used to find metadata. Metadata is basically data about data. So you can have author, title, where you already have title, but you can have all types of information, tags, keywords, things like that. So metadata, and you'll see that just basically lets web crawlers know about your page. Okay, script, that's more likely used for JavaScript, and then no script. No script is used for, like I say here, it's a custom message to people who have chosen to turn off JavaScript on their page. So, and that's something to think about when you're building web pages, is if your web page is heavy JavaScript, there are some people in the world still do not have any script running on their page. It could be because they have a slow modem, maybe they're in a highly remote place, or maybe they just don't trust scripts, because scripts can do funny things. But most browsers protect you nowadays. Previous browsers didn't, but like previous browsers did not protect you. But Google Chrome and Microsoft Edge, and definitely some of the famous ones, kind of protect you for people writing dirty scripts and trying to hack you. But you can still have that in there. It's nice to have, to make your page HTML5 compliant. Okay. A tag is the anchor tag, and basically it's a link to a location. The location can be within the same page or within the website or external. So, and two common attributes inside of an anchor tag or href, which is the location of a reference, because when you have a tag, an anchor tag, you're saying, okay, you're going to click on this anchor tag and you're going to go somewhere else. You're going to click on here and you're going to go somewhere. And so two things you got to know is where you're going to go. That's your href. And then target is going to tell you how you want the page to behave. So you can open that reference or go to that location within the same page, meaning I'm going to just I'm going to go from where the page I'm at to another page, and it's going to take over that new page. Or you can do what's very common, where if you have target equals blank, it opens up a new tab or a new page, most likely a new tab. And then you can see that page, okay? And so the locations are usually internal, so you can jump from one portion of the page to another portion of the page. So that's link on the page. You can jump to another page within your website. Most websites have multiple page, home, about, and then some type of meet or contact us. When I say meet, an article are the main feature of your page. And then you can link to a totally different page, like you might want to link to Google or Amazon or Walmart or whoever. So you can link to pages outside your page. All right, moving on. Article. This is an HTML5 feature. Okay. And basically it's saying the main part of the page. Okay, so real quick history. before HTML5, people used divs like crazy. So everything was in a div, our table, most likely a div. And so they needed ways to label different parts of your web page. And so the footer was in a div, and the meat or the article was in the div, and the aside was in the div. And so now these are all HTML5 defined tags that you can use. And you'll see it in the class. You'll see it in probably previous other videos. But yeah, so article is a nice way to let the web crawlers know, because that's how you get ranked. Okay, what is the meat? What is the main portion of this web page? Okay, EM. EM is emphasis. It's emphasizing something on the page. Visually, all you see is a word or letters, depending on where you use it. Bold. Okay, you just see it become bold. Now, I had someone in my face-to-face class mention, okay, well, you got emphasis, and then you have the bold tag, and then I think there's another one. And they mentioned that it was redundant. And you're right, it is redundant. But the truth is, just about every type of technology has some type of redundancy. Okay. So, for example, usually if you have a TV, nowadays all TVs come with the remote. Okay. And so you can either hit the power button on your remote or walk over to your TV and turn it on, and that's redundant. But sometimes redundancy is good, because what may happen is you might have a web browser that doesn't support the new one, so you also have a previous one. And there's some other how would you say, reasons behind this. For example, you're not just bolding something. You truly want this to be something that's emphasized. This is a really big point on my page. This is a really important piece of information, and so I want to emphasize that. So there's other semantic reasons for that feature. Okay, label. You can go to this website and read about labels. Labels are primarily used with inputs, but they can be used anywhere. It's definitely to make your page HTML5 compliant, because the screen reader will read it for those who may be visually impaired. Okay. And it's also good for users who have difficulty clicking on a very small region. Okay, especially if you're using your phone. That label will give the person more real estate to click on a button, and you can go to that web page right there and read more about it. Okay. Input. I think this will be the last slide, for good reason, because I'm also only get 15 minutes from amount of time. So, input. What is input? Input is a main feature for your forms. When you get into forms, you're going to use a lot of input. Here's some. So, checkbox. I think everybody knows that is. Color. You can have a color selector for your input. So, you might want to have someone custom color page or see what something looks like. Okay. Date, I believe that is all forms of your date. Month, day, year, minutes, seconds, hours. So I think that date is the full on date. I think this date time is just your time. Okay. Email, I think that's an input that's specifically designed for an email, and it will, I believe, pre-check. So when someone clicks in, it'll pre-check to see if it has all the elements of an email. And you can look all these up. File, when you have that, that's going to let someone click on that and link to a file. So that's your file picker, okay? And so time's running out, so you can look up all of those other ones. They're pretty self-explanatory, and they're mainly used on a form. All right, so thanks for listening.